All right, you guys, welcome back to A Garden and a Bible Farm. I'm so excited to get this season started. I have been in the house daydreaming of this time when we get to start our tomato seeds. So I'm going to bring you along with me planting my tomato seeds. I have about 80 plants that I want to plant today. I may not show you how I put the seeds into the soil because I want to make that another video, but I'm just going to talk to you about the plants or the pots as well as the soil, what I do to prepare for that. I'm outside, it's a little bit cold, so I have to work very fast because yesterday I started this process and my fingers were frozen, completely frozen, and I don't want to go through that today. So let me show you my setup. So this is my setup right here. I have, I hope you can see this. All right, so I have my pots laid out in these foil pans. You could purchase the correct pot holders. These are called pots for the plants. You can purchase the correct base, but I chose not to do so. I may end up doing so because I do see that once I fill this up, it becomes very heavy and it's very unstable. And you can't put any more inside of this, otherwise they could pop, and I don't want that to happen because these things are quite expensive. So I have 3 trays like this with these different color pots. I didn't have enough, so I just added these black ones here at the end. So I'm going to fill both trays up with soil. Now, when I want to do planting, because I use a ton of soil and it doesn't make sense to continuously do this process over and over again, what I do is I take my soil, different types of soil types get their own container. So this right here is potting soil. And I would not suggest that if you are a beginner that you start sowing your seeds in potting soil. You have to know how to work with it. I've been doing this for some time, so I think I have a good grip on it. However, either you're using seed starting mix or a potting soil. What I do is I place it into this 5-gallon bucket and then I boil some water. And then I'm going to mix this soil content with that boiling water. What that does is that it prevents fungus gnats. You know those little flies that fly around? Let's say you have some fruit that's old, like a pineapple especially. You see it around citruses like pineapples, grapefruits, or any type of fruits that are old for the growing season. If they're getting old, rather, if they're sitting on your table in the kitchen, your kitchen counter for too long, they begin to produce these fungus gnats, or they attract these fungus gnats, and Lord knows how these things are actually attracted to themselves. Anyhow, those fungus gnats also come when we mix soil with water. The moisture will attract them, and if you skip this step by not boiling your soil, you are going to have a house full of fungus gnats. One season I was planting maybe some peppers, some new pepper seeds, and I refused to do that step. I was just very tired. I just wanted to get it over and done with, and I just wanted to sow the seeds that day. I mixed it with regular water, planted my seeds into the soil, and a couple of days later, the house was full of fungus gnats. It was a mess. So don't skip this step. Get yourself a bucket. You don't even have to use a bucket. I do this because I start a lot of seeds. Even if you don't have a 5-gallon bucket, you can use any type of container for the soil for that time. Once you've done this process of boiling your soil, it will be done and over with. You leave it in here. It has a cover, as you can see. So when I'm done, I remove the spoon and then I place this into the house. I don't leave this outside at this time because it is very, very cold. Maybe in the summertime I will leave it outside because I will be planting seeds throughout the growing season just to do succession planting. If you are interested in learning more about succession planting, if you want to learn more about succession planting, please make sure that you follow us on YouTube at A Garden and a Bible, as well as Instagram, A Garden and a Bible, so that you can learn about succession planting. You don't want to start all of your seeds all at once because then you will not be able to extend your growing season. Then also you will have an abundance of fruits, vegetables, herbs, whatever you've planted, and it will be too much for you and your family to consume all at that time. So you want to make sure that you're planting in succession. We have our soil. We have our pots. You guys, I have a lot of plants, and so I have to start taking care of them. This is a baby carrot, one of the carrots that I harvested yesterday. There's just a lot going on here on the farm. But today is for tomatoes. So we're gonna plant, and I'm just gonna prop you up here so that I can talk to you, and you guys can watch me planting my tomatoes. So I'm going to angle you down so that you can see what's going on. All right, guys, so we're going to put all this soil into these containers, and I'm just going to talk you through it so that you guys can see and follow along. You may not be able to see me because I'm pointing you downwards. So here we have this should be a 2-inch planter. I believe this one is 2.5 inches or maybe 3 inches. Let's see. Yeah, this should be about 3 inches. Okay, your finger should be about 3 inches. And this should be 2 inches, yes. Okay, so 2 inches. Yep, so what you're going to do is after your soil, now when you boil your soil, never put your seeds into boiling soil. Do not put your seeds into boiling soil, guys. You're gonna burn the seed and it's just gonna die and wither away, and it's never gonna do anything. And you don't want that to happen because you'll just be wasting the seeds. So you want to make sure that the soil is cooled. I would suggest boiling the soil a day before you're actually going to use it. Okay, that's just my recommendation. So what you should do now is you can use your hand. I probably after some time will speed this up, do a time lapse, and you'll see me doing it because it's redundant, but this process needs to happen. Let me be honest with you guys. A lot of times when I'm planting during a growing season, people are commenting, especially on my Instagram. I get a lot of messages, tons of messages on both A Garden and a Bible and my personal page, and I love them. I love your messages, I love your comments, I love your questions. Keep them coming. But I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that I start my seeds from scratch. I don't go to the nursery to buy them. There's nothing wrong with you purchasing your starts from the nursery. I have no problems with that. But I do find joy, for me personally, to start my seeds from scratch. And when I start my seeds from scratch, I'm starting them all from scratch, doing everything from scratch. So there's nothing wrong going to the nurseries to get these plant starts. That's the reason why nurseries are in existence. That's the reason why they're thriving. That's the reason why after a certain time, you're not going to see these seeds anymore. You're not going to see these started plants anymore because people are actually buying them and starting them in their garden. Some people don't have the time to start their own seeds. Some people don't even have the desire. They just want to grow the food, which I am all for. My goal here is to teach how we can become sustainable as much as possible. But if purchasing the starts right now is the best choice for you, then go ahead by doing that. That is the best choice for you, if that's the best choice for you. Now, for me, I don't purchase those things because I start hundreds of plants, and so if I were to buy my starts from the nursery, I'm going to be spending a lot of money. Imagine if one plant is between $3 to $5. Some of them can be up to $6 to $7 depending on what it is. So imagine that times 100, or I don't sell only 100 plants. Let's say times at least 300, 400, probably 500 plants that I'm starting. And so it's just a lot. It will be too much for me financially. It's much more economical for me and financially reasonable for me to start the seeds. And I think this is where some people probably don't know that this is the process. And my mom, I love her so much. She's so cute. So she was asking me today about my garden. Am I working on my garden? Because when she calls me, I'm like, oh, what if she says, what are you doing? I say, I'm working on something for the garden. So anyhow, she asked me today if I was doing anything for the garden, and I told her that I will be starting my tomato plants. I also grow tomatoes for my parents as well, because my mom loves cooking with fresh produce, and it's just my joy to give her those produce when they come out of the farm. So of course, she knows that she doesn't have to ask me to grow tomatoes for her. I'm definitely going to give her and my dad out of the abundance of the tomatoes, by God's grace, that we will be getting here on the farm. So she asked a very, very important question. Very important question. Number one, she asked, do I have to start the seeds this early? Which now trickled down to another question. Why is it that you can't start it outside? So you don't want to start the seeds later in the growing season. For instance, I plan on putting these tomato plants out starting from the beginning of May to about May 15, hopefully in successive waves, right? And so I'm going to be planting them out into the garden at that time. And so what mom's question is why can't you start the seeds at that time? Now you have to remember that in order for these plants to be put outside for them to be growing and to yield what I want them to yield, they would have already had a growing period in the home. And the reason why you start them inside is because it's too cold outside. As I am right now, I am freezing, my hands are frozen, but you cannot put your tomato plants outside where I live. I live in zone 7, Maryland zone 7. If you are in probably zone 8, 9, 10, right? I think it goes up to 10. Let's just say if you're in the state of California, if you're in maybe Oregon, Arizona, Utah, that side, the West Coast, if you're on that side, you may be able to put your tomato plants out right now because the temperature is conducive. It is too cold right now for us to place our tomato plants outside. And you also don't want to wait from now till that time. Between now and that time, we have about about 12 weeks. And you don't want to wait for 12 weeks before you start your seeds, because when you wait for 12 weeks, what that means is that you're going to be waiting again for 12 weeks for the plant to reach the size that they would have reached if you started indoor. Does that make sense? So if I start my seeds right now, they will have grown a substantial amount. They will be big enough. You guys will be able to see them, that they have really matured from seed to that point. And that is when I'm able to place them outside and begin to sow them into the ground. So imagine if I don't do that at this moment right now and I wait till May 15th, let's just say beginning of May, to start that and plant that outside. Also, what you do by starting your seeds indoors is you eliminate the risk of pests, garden pests, because a garden pest could be something like a bird that could eat the seeds, right? So if I plant a seed or I sow a seed into the ground, there's no guarantee that it's going to come up because a pest may have consumed it. A squirrel, a bird, a groundhog like I have could easily consume it. And so when you plant your seeds indoors and you don't take the seed outside, even if you do have a pest, you have a way that you can cover it, which I'll show you. Again, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about all of this. You can cover them up to prevent the pest. Look, there's just a lot to know about this whole gardening thing, farming thing, you guys. So please make sure you subscribe. Let's get into me filling up these trays. All right, you should be able to see my hand and you should see my bucket of soil. Here we have this pot, a 2-inch pot, and we're going to fill it up. And this is pretty much what I do. When you want to fill this up, this is what I want to show you before I turn it into a time lapse. It's going to fill up looking like this. It's not full. Don't sow anything in something like this. You want to push it down, pack it down. Look at what happens. You packed it down and it becomes about 3/4 of the way. You need to fill it up a little bit more. Well, a lot of it more. All the way to the top. Okay? This is how it should look. So that when you push it, it's pretty much at the top. That's exactly what you're looking for, and that's what we're going to do for all of these. This is what it looks like. So I've seeded all of my tomato plants. All of them are done. Most of them have 2 seeds in the pot. That's just so that I'm sure that one will at least germinate. And then when they start to grow and I look at the seedlings, then I'll be able to pick which one I'm going to keep. I'm just going to snip one off at the soil level and just get rid of it. I may, because I'm a softie, I may separate some of them, but we'll see. But for now, it's done, thankfully. So here you have it, all of my seedlings on the shelf. I haven't sown anything into this one yet. I'll get to it in the next 2 days. But all of my tomatoes are done. And this is how I will water them if I need to water them, using a spray bottle. So using something like this, and I'll just spray it like this. Onions, sweet potatoes, other seedlings. These are peppers. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed this vlog, and I'll see you in the next one. And until next time, may the earth yield its increase in your life and in your garden. God bless you.